Hello and welcome to our 107th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about developer hours, we will talk about Playground, and we will talk about Gutenberg 19.2, as well as some data views and design systems. I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times and a full-time core contributor for the WordPress open source project, sponsored by Automatic. It's again a special pleasure to have Maggie Cabrera with me. She's a theme and core contributor and also sponsored by Automatic. And you work in the community also with the themes, or have been. You're always a good supporter for theme developers. So welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me again. And yeah, I'm mainly working core, but themes are very special for me and very dear to my heart. So whenever there's an opportunity to help out with the community or anything, I'm there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also see that there are quite a few themes coming from Automatic for the theme repository in all kind of different shapes. So I'm really happy that it inspires a lot of people to do very specific themes. Yeah, not these overall, everything looks the same kind of block themes, but have some for WooCommerce, have some for a print, and have some for somebody who wants to do just public scripts, movie scripts or something like that. It's quite interesting what's coming out of that.
Yeah. We've been working on submitting a lot of themes that the designers have been working throughout the year. And I've been impressed when reviewing them technically, the amount of talent that the designers have and how much they can actually express while working in the editor. And I see how both the designers and the editor have matured over the years. And it's so lovely to see what you could do 3 years ago and what you can do now. It's just so amazing. I just love it. Can't wait for the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. And it's also the speed with going from idea and kind of the overall design, and then all of a sudden it's a theme that you can publish on the WordPress repository. Yeah.
The designers don't use Figma anymore. They just go jump on the site editor and they start in the site editor, they end in the site editor. And then with Playground, they generate a PR that we review for the technical stuff. So the themes make it through the theme directory guidelines, because there's you need to add the license for the images and the assets and all that stuff. But in general, most of the work is done in the editor, and there's barely any code that needs to be touched. So it's amazing to see that.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Beatrice Yallo, she demonstrated that in a recent hallway hangout, how that connection works between the Great Block theme plugin and then the Playground and then the GitHub PRs. Yeah, so how these three tools actually work together. And it's quite interesting to how streamlined the process is. Yeah.
And it's only getting better.
yeah, getting better and better. Yeah. So we have a few announcements, dear listeners. And I have a section here that says listener questions, and we haven't gotten any listener questions lately. So if you have a question, just send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com or ping me on the WordPress Slack or on Twitter if you have a question that you want to answer, and we can answer them here at the podcast here. So today I have a few announcements. The developer hours, a first look at a new API that will come with WordPress 6.7, and that is the template registration API for plugins. Up until now, plugins had a really hard time getting templates into the block theme, the site editor, so they can be offered to the site owner or designers to use whatever comes in the plugin also for front end. And there was a developer hours last week about that, and also a developer blog article about how to do this in very detail. Mind you, WordPress 6.7 hasn't been out yet, but it was in Gutenberg 19.1. So that was the developer hours last week. So, or this week? This week. Sorry. September 10th. Today is September 12th. I haven't followed that example in the developer blog post yet completely, but I can see how that really makes it a difference. When you, for instance, have a plugin with a custom post type as well as custom fields, you can also provide all that already in a template, both for the single post of your custom post type as well as for the archive template. So your plugin is pretty much ready to be used with any block theme. Or if you also for classic themes, of course, if you want to do that. And so the next developer hour is on September 24th. And as always on 1500 UTC, that's 11 a.m. Eastern. It's about the introduction to data views. And it's not so much the introduction in what's in the site editor now, but it's more like how you can use the data views component as part of your own plugin for that, like the settings page, or when you handle other data that's coming in from a different source, like from an API out there on the internet. So the developer hours will cover the fundamentals of data views component, how to add a React app to the WordPress admin page, and how to display a custom data sets using the data view component. And there will be a Q&A session. And there's also already a post on the developer blog for the first part of it, like using data views to display and interact with data in plugins. So that's September 24th, 1500 UTC. And I'll share, of course, all the links in the show notes, not only the RSVP for the developer hour, but also the article for the developer blog. And I will also share the subscribe to the developer blog link, so we'll never miss a post again. And also I will share the link to the developer hours YouTube playlist. So you can go back and say, oh, which developer hours have I missed? Or, oh, there was a developer hour, I need to learn this. So it's actually pretty cool to have those resources all available. Oh, speaking of developer blog, there's the newest What's New for Developers Roundup post available since September 10th. And it has about 25 different changes for plugin developers as well as themes. Some of them about 6.6.2. Other ones are coming from Gutenberg 19.0 or Gutenberg release 19.1. And they're divided up between plugin and tools or theme developers. Some things are also good for both, but you'll figure that out. But it's just a rundown of developer relevant things that are coming into WordPress before WordPress 6.7 comes out. Well, that was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maggie, for being so patient. Any comments about things you want to do?
Yeah, I was just looking at the web theme for developers, and I think those are so useful to keep up with all the changes in Gutenberg and Core, because so much happens in so little time, and it's kind of hard to follow everything and be able to know what you can benefit from in your themes or in your plugins or whatever implementations that you're making. So yeah, it's so good to have that all condensed and easy to follow.
Well, thank you. Yeah. There's a whole writers on the developer blog that are working on it, and we are scouting all the things that come out of the teams, being the releases or commits to core. But even then, we miss things. So if you find something that we missed, don't hesitate to let us know. We'll just add it to it or bring it into the next one. The roundup post comes out always on the 10th of the month. So October 10th is the next one that will come out. And I think the designated writer, we are working on a team on this, but the designated writer will be Nick Diego. And he's leaving right now for WordCamp US, but he will be back and then start writing. But we are all contributing to that. We have a whole list of things where we just copy paste things from release or from track tickets. And then we need to do some research and then have the little blurb there. All right. Well, speaking of 6.7, the roadmap 6.7 has been out and has published it on September 3rd. That was pretty much a few days after Jessica Lishek and I were kind of wondering if there will be a roadmap post at all before beta 1, but there is. So we are going through it fast because it's a long post anyway, so we might as go fast. But we also will cover it in the next episode after the next one. So this is 107, we will cover it in 109 when we're going to record it around October 10th. That's when beta 2 was out for 6.7. Beta 1 is October 1st, and then October 8th will be beta 2. So the roadmap, the first thing that comes up is, of course, the new default theme. Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
What they're working on?
I've not been following as much as I would have liked because I've been kind of busy, but I've been looking at the design and a little bit at the repo, and I am, as always, very impressed with the design work and how ambitious this theme looks like. Even though I think 2024 was really ambitious, I think this one's outdoing it because look at the amount of patterns there. There's so many. Yeah. I know for a fact how hard they are to build in such a short period of time to the standards that we expect the default theme to have. It's great work being done there. So for sure, if anyone's listening is interested in theming, go and have a look at the repo and check the work being done there.
Yeah, so how many patterns are there? I can't even count them. Wow. Yeah, that's really a lot. Yeah, so we probably need to kind of do a review of all the patterns at some point.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the repo and I'm scrolling through all the ones that are merged, and it's long.
Yeah, and I like...
I think it's at least double what 2024 has, or close to that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, at least, yeah. What I see is also the name of the patterns are quite revealing, so you know pretty much what's going to be in there, yeah. But I like the vertical header. Yeah, we haven't talked about vertical headers yet, so really excited about trying that out, yeah. And then it has a poster section, and I can read a few patterns for a photo blog, and then portfolio and newsletter, sign up. That's kind of standard. So I'm tempted to install it and make it, kind of put it up on one of my technical blogs and kind of try it out and see what's coming out of it. Yeah.
If you give it like a couple of weeks, you will have a version that's decent enough to start doing your thing, because it doesn't have any functionality in it. What you will be missing is probably going to be minor stuff like translation and on patterns, and maybe you will be missing some accessibility fixes and stuff like that, but you will have most of the design on that version.
Excellent. Yeah. So, well, it's gonna be 2 weeks till I actually get to do some of that. Yeah. So, and then what's also going to be in 6.7 is definitely a refinement of the data views. And some of them is the extensibility, that you can extend or register and unregister some of the actions that are in there via plugins. I know that that's already in, because it was in Gutenberg, and that's going to be in 6.7 as well. Yeah, the grid layout in the data views to follow the aspect ratios, and there are quite a few interesting developments there. The next one is something that is definitely exciting. That's the polishing of the query loop, where there are additional features in there, like the offsets and all that, putting it from the toolbar into the sidebar and all that. So that is always good, because some of the features actually confuse me and other people.
So, and if they confuse us who are quite used to interacting with it often enough, I can't imagine for someone that encounters it for the first time. I think that's great.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, we have been talking about this podcast about some of the zoom out experience, and that the team has been working on it. We will see if it makes it at whole or just in parts. And it's an experience where when you select a pattern, for instance, that your canvas kind of zooms out and shows you more of your page than the normal editor will show you. So you can add the pattern easily and see it in relation to other things. I think that's a great feature. I just don't know how how it's defined, that there are sections, and what if I want to edit, then I have a different mode. And so it's all a little bit kind of, we need to kind of figure that out. And as long as I'm confused.
I understand. We're working on that. Zoom out is already in core. It's just that the way to access it is not as straightforward as anyone would think. You can, every time you go on global styles, you will trigger zoom out when you're browsing the style book, I think it is. But the mode is there, the code is there. It's just the way, the thing is how are we gonna surface this to the users? That's most of the main thing that we're discussing is how do we want the users to experience Zoom out. So depending on where we are when we're closer to the release, we'll figure out if it stays somewhat hidden. So it's right now I think there's a button that you can click in the
preview.
We're iterating on that. I think right now it's on the preview, but I think that's gonna move. It's no longer in the patterns. I think we've moved out of that because we thought that you might want to not have it trigger if you have a theme that has patterns that are not full sections and you want to insert patterns inside patterns, which wasn't really working with the zoom out view. But still, we also we're working on, there's an open issue that we're still iterating on, and I think it's gonna move into an experiment to add zoom out when you're creating a new page.
Yeah.
So that instead of having this pop-up that shows you like 24 has like 4 or 5 versions of a page, instead of having that pop-up every time, you would go into pattern insertion mode and you would just build your page using the patterns that you have. Or you can toggle that out and just write a new page with just text. But yeah, we're still, the mode is there and still needs polishing and all that, but mainly what we're iterating is what we want the user experience to be. So that's what we cannot really predict what exactly is going to land, but some of it will.
Yeah, there's some great testing going around, and if you want to test that out, I'm sure we can just install the Gutenberg plugin 19.2 and then just play around with it and see what works for you and what doesn't. And if you kind of pay attention, sometimes it's hard to narrow down why you all kind of feel trapped or confused or something like that. But it's hard to describe that. But if you can, that would be really helpful for the designers and the developers to kind of figure out.
Yeah, feedback is more than welcome.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, yeah. And if someone has an idea in mind as to how they would think they could benefit from this, like they are a plugin author and they think they could use this for something idea that they have, then that's more than welcome to, because we think we know the kind of flows people will want to go through, but we are probably not thinking what everyone else has in mind. So yeah.
No, I understand. So the 6.7 also will come with some media improvements. We talked about the Hayek images that is automatically converted to JPEGs, then auto size of lazy loading, some background attachments or fixed backgrounds that are in the block level as well, and of course need to be uploaded in the media library and all that kind of things. Yeah, and then the meta boxes in the iframe post editor. There is a PR, and Anne has shared the links to that, how MetaBox is going to be, because we talked about it here a bit, that the post editor and the site editor become one, but it's a little bit tricky when the post editor has meta boxes on the bottom, then it loads it not in the iframe. The iframe is the unified canvas or editor, but if it's not in the iframe, then some of the things are not working like they are in the editor, so the interfaces are all of a sudden don't match. So they're kind of trying to figure out that. And I think they found a good solution with two sections in the editor and the post editor, where the block editor is on top and underneath they have additional window there. It's going to be interesting to see. But I think with the block bindings UI that's coming in 19.2, some of it is offset because those are kind of a better interface to connect with the post metadata or other custom fields. Yeah, what else is the design tools? Yeah, everybody, no, not everybody. Every block gets border controls now, so you can. Yeah, we ran through the list quite often, and those are all coming to the WordPress 6.7, and it also stabilizes some of the block supports because some of they were still in experimental status, especially topography supports features, and they will come out of experimental status. So more people can use them now in their own custom blocks or for block variations. We talked about template registration API. That's coming. And then we will talk about the preview options and then updates to the interactivity API and the block bindings API. And another one is the HTML API. So it's definitely, again, with the last three of them, developer heavy, but there are great improvements for the interfaces and for the content creators and the designers in the site editor. So that is going to be WordPress 6.7, and we're going to dive into it in episode 109. That's 2 episodes from now. All right, back to our program here. First, what's released was WordPress 6.6.2, and it had 26 fixes, 15 in core or in track, identified in track, and 11 identified in the Gutenberg repo for the block editor. And it's a maintenance security release, but some of the fixes are bug fixes for things that were in 6.6 and dealt with the lower CSS specificity that kind of changed a few sites that looked a little bit different. And now the bug fixes are in. There were quite a few in 6.6.1, and now 6.6.2 has caught up with the other ones. And then there's a bug fix for the derivative state in the interactivity API, and some are for the post editor rendering in the iframe. The release post has the whole list of things that's in there, and what's new for developers. I've written quite a few sentences about the bug fixes that are relevant for theme developers. That gets us to Gutenberg 19.2, 193 PRs, 58 bug fixes, and 59 enhancements. 54 contributors contributed to them. 6 of them are first-time contributors. So it's always good to have first-time contributors. I'm so happy that they are identified and in the release post, so you can kind of scroll down and learn more about them. Yep. So do you want to lead us for the first one?
Move bulk actions menu to the footer and consolidate with floating toolbar and total items display. Yeah, that's part of the data views changes.
I think the biggest problem with the data views is that they want that on that real estate on the screen, do everything. And now it's all very top-plastic, and now I kind of need to give it a little bit more space. So they moved the bulk actions to the footer, and it's really interesting to see how that kind of comes about when you do it in incremental. Somebody should do a video kind of how it's gonna work from
such a
the
hard
first
balance,
view to
right?
the next one. It's probably gonna be fun. Cool.
I think in general there's also this constant concern in the editor in general. You want to give the users as many options as they can while keeping things simple, and then you want to hide things that are not something that you use all the time, but still users need to know they're there when they need them. So it's a balancing act to not overcrowd the UI while still giving the users a really powerful tool.
Yeah, definitely. And with the admin pages, it comes that there's a 20-year history what these lists in the admin pages can do. So that
you need to be able to do everything.
And extend it. So I think that's something that's going to be in mind for 6.8 or 6.9, that once the data view component is kind of, but it's also one single component that's really hard to do.
That's why it's so important for people to start trying and adopting it early, so they can influence the development early on, because it needs to be very extendable. So the best way to do it properly is giving feedback so that the core contributors actually have in mind the needs of plugin developers. So that's very important.
So there is composited component that comes into that had a few PRs in 19.2, but the bigger PR is going to be merged in 19.3, and it will come out in 2 weeks. So you will find some of the references are kind of interesting because they say don't use the composite AI. So what is it? So there's a new version. Sometimes a component has run its course and needs to be refactored. And one of those is the drop-down menu version 2.
Yeah, I've been
Yeah,
looking at that. It looks
yeah,
so good.
yeah. Sometimes you really need to learn from things, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I always have the feeling, especially in software development, when you do go new routes, that the first time you never get it really right because it teaches you how it wants to be done, whatever you're gonna
yeah.
do, and then the second time you get it right and you learn from that, and then you iterate.
You're always iterating, right?
Yeah,
You cannot settle with the first
yeah, right.
version of the thing.
Correct. Yeah. I will share a link to the drop-down menu version 2 tracking issue on Gutenberg so you see what's all in the works and where the vision goes. And I will also share the storybook. It's not storyboard, it's storybook, right?
Storybook, yeah. Yeah, it's
Storybook,
storybook.
yeah. Yeah, I'm always get style book, storyboard, storybook.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of totally confused, but
Actually,
it's,
storyboard, you're right. It's storyboard. I'm thinking of storybook because it's
yeah. So it's a,
okay. Don't
did
mind
I
me.
confuse enough?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
and that,
provide the link so people will know.
yeah, no matter what, just click on the link and then you get there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really have been discovering the storyboard. It's been a while that I discovered it, but it with the component work, it's so good to go there instead of reading the
Oh
documentation in
yeah, I
the
do it. I
block
use it
editor
all the
handbook.
time. All the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so why do you go there?
Well, when we're developing and we need to touch a component or there's a component in that I've never worked with, sometimes I just don't even know what attributes are available to me, and it's so much easier to just checking the storybook because it's just more visual than actually going into the README and all that stuff. I mean, I will eventually do that too, but it feels easier for me
Mhm.
to. I'm more a visual person, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and me too. Yeah, and seeing things in action, and you can kind of put in
Mhm.
values in certain things, and then see how the component behaves in its as a standalone component. Yeah, you don't see it acting in context, and that's sometimes really good. Yeah, because you can
Mhm.
isolate how your interface is going to be. So yeah, I really like
Mhm.
that. Yeah, so I'm gonna share that in the show notes so you can kind of look at that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the next one is the block bindings UI. So there is a pull request to only allow admin, for now, admin users to create and modify
Mhm.
bindings by default. There is a discussion going on the track ticket to get it into core about is it really necessary to go for the admin role or shouldn't we go for capabilities? Yeah, is it, and when capabilities, which one is it? Is it just edit post or is it edit meta? Or
Oh
that. So
yeah.
it's a quite an interesting discussion because all of a sudden you kind of get a bigger picture
Yeah.
of what all needs to be
Mm.
happening to make this a good feature.
Yeah. And it
And
feels like if you're trying to match what Core was doing, the classic editor, sometimes it doesn't really work. So you kind of have to rethink it in the context of the site editor these days. Like
mhm,
what do the users today need? Not what was implemented 10 years ago.
right, totally. And the other good news is about the block bindings UI, it's coming out of experiments. So if you
Mm.
install the Gutenberg plugin, you will be able to see it right away. You don't have to enable an experiment for that now and
Mm.
can interact and try it out and test it before it comes into 6.7. It
Yeah.
gives you a way to see all the block bindings for a block or for a section
Mhm.
and which fields are attributed. What it does not do yet is register
Mhm.
the custom fields. You still need a developer to do that. That is not yet in the editor. And that's the missing piece where I say, okay, block binding is all nice, yeah, but I still need to kind of have a different plugin to register my custom post types.
Mhm.
Custom post types, and with that also the custom fields. And so, but it's one step at a time. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built in one day either.
Yeah.
So there was something in the site editor that has been removed now. That's the shuffle button from the block toolbar
Yeah, I can give you
for
context
patterns.
there. That button was added. Well, I might be wrong here. Yeah, I think we want the shuffle button to be available mainly when we are on zoom out mode.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the users to be shuffling by mistake a pattern that they have already changed because they're just editing their site. But when they're still composing the template, they still have not decided if the pattern that they've inserted is the one that they want. We still want them to have the ability to shuffle through other patterns in the same category.
Yeah, it's kind of a quick browse through the patterns that we are per category. So now it's also to be limited to a category. So you want to see which one are the call to action patterns are fitting nicely to that. So you don't have to click and edit. So you can just shuffle it and see how it kind of flows. But yeah, it's interesting how a confusion can happen when you're actually editing things. So yeah, and that's something to learn only from usage. The next one is it's a tiny change. However, you probably are going to look for it when you want to clear your media from the cover block. It moved from the inspector controls or from the sidebar to the block toolbar into the block setting and so you can do it from the block toolbar. You can clear the media and you don't have to open up the sidebar and go there. So but if you are accustomed to having it in a sidebar and clicking there, you're now kind of say, where is it? It's in the toolbar. Yeah, sometimes those changes kind of can
It's
frustrate
aligning
some
it
people.
with other blocks like the site logo, the feature image. They have it on the same place where it now is for the code blocks, so now it's more consistent with other blocks that behave the same way.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, and we love consistency, right?
Yes.
So
with having so many contributors, it's very easy to not think about those tiny things. So it's really nice when someone picks one up. And it's like, oh, this doesn't feel right, and then you notice that it's inconsistent with other blocks, and then you just bring them all in line. It's very satisfying, I think.
Yeah, and it actually removes confusion, and I think it's a good time to do that now in that place where the editor is, to kind of go through the design. And I know that we're going to talk about it later on after we get through the changelog here about the design system and what's going to happen there. So the next one, maybe you can help me out with that, the content only piece. So it says content only, add support for block styles on top level content only locked blocks.
Yeah, I think I'm not so sure about the top level part. I think it means when you have a pattern that is content only and it has a group block that is surrounding it, sometimes you will have block style variations that affect a group and whatever is inside. So we're enabling those style variations in content only so you can still change the styles in cascade, because the block styles in your JSON file will affect the group block and whatever is inside. Like I want my group block have this background, but I want all the paragraphs inside this group block to have this other color. And you will not be able in content only to change the color of the paragraph, but because you will be able to change the block style, that cascade still works.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, that's a very good feature.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then we have two things that are already also on the zoom out mode. There's an edit button on the zoom out mode toolbar, meaning that you can switch to an edit. Zoom out means you're just looking. Yeah. But then you also want, if you want to, you see something and then you want to edit it, then you need the edit button. Yeah. And
I think
that's
both
how.
of those PRs are adding two different ways to exit zoom out mode, because we're still thinking about how you enter it and how you leave it. So that's it. If you feel like you want to more granular control over the blocks inside the sections, like we were talking about content only, it's very similar, then you want to be able to exit. So these are two ways. Yeah.
And the second one is you double click on a block and then you exit zoom out mode, and hopefully that block is then selected.
Yeah.
And so that's a good thing. And then, so the zoom out mode is definitely something to explore quite a bit, because it changes how you might think about site building and the order of things. So the next two items are part of the design tool block border block support everywhere. Now comment edit link and the comment reply link also get border support. So we have it everywhere now.
Yes.
There might still be a few missing. I'm going to take a look for 6.7 on all the design tools, because I have for 6.6 I did the roster of the design tools and there were some empty spaces in there. Now I'm going to fill up those empty spaces on the border controls. The next one is the post publish upload media dialog is now also handling the upload errors. So the post publish upload media dialog, that's the dialog that comes up when you hit publish once, and then you get a suggestion that you have images that are referencing a third outside your site. So might be Google or might be a different website.
It could also be the theme. It could also be the theme, because the theme adds on the templates, it adds the URL and it points to your asset folder on the themes, but the images are not on your uploads folder.
Oh,
and that's the difference. So those are lost if you change themes, but if you click that button, those get moved into your uploads folder. So it's in your media in your site.
Oh, that I didn't know about that, but that's cool.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why this is there.
Well, actually, I had early on with Ella a dialogue that images coming from Google should automatically be uploaded. Yeah. And there were no block themes around when we had that discussion, so it was kind of 5 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
And it started out with a button on the toolbar of the image block where you can say upload image to media library. But then it was also, okay, if I had 15 in my post, I don't want to do it one at a time. Give me a feature where I can do 10 at a time. And that was in the publish section where it says, hold, you have images that are pointing someplace else. But you were able to click on them, but the errors wouldn't bubble up. And that has now been solved with this one. So now you get the error messages when it doesn't work. Before it just didn't do anything. You were kind of clicking and clicking and you didn't know why it wouldn't work. So the typography changes are coming is that now you can individually override the presets through the interface, I would think.
No, I think it's theme JSON.
Oh, it was theme JSON.
Yeah, I think it is. There's an example on the PR. You click, here is some test theme JSON.
Yeah.
There's a little arrow and you see how you can set fluid to true on a specific
font size. Per the preset for fluid, yes. Yeah. So you can have a preset one that is fluid and the other one is not.
The global setting can be set to false and that can be overridden by one specific font size.
Okay. Well, thank you for making that clear. And the next one is, there is now an experiment for client-side media processing in Gutenberg that is by Pascal Birla. He has his own plugin where he experiments with all kind of different media processing. And this one is coming as an experiment to Gutenberg. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's for client-side media processing, so you don't need the server involved in it.
Oh yeah.
It's all in a browser. It's all in the browser.
Nice.
It's all in the browser. And then the last one from the enhancements is the details block gets now a transform from any block type. From a paragraph, you can make a details block. From a list block, you can make a details block. And so it's really cool. It's a small quality of life change that changes a lot. And now we come to the extensibility section, and there is a new API for the preview options. So there is on the right-hand side, on the top, you have the preview, and to do either mobile or desktop or preview in a new tab. That's what there. And I think now with this release or with this Gutenberg release or the one prior, there's also the 50% one that is your zoomed out one, right? For the desktop.
That might go away.
It might go away. It's a zoomed out, might go away thing, kind of. Yeah, but it's right now it's there with when you.
No, I mean it might go away because it will be moved somewhere else. Not
Yes.
because it will go away. Yeah.
It won't totally go away, but it
Yeah,
might
yeah,
be its own button. Yeah. But what this PR enables is that plugin developers can have separate preview options and register them with the Gutenberg so people can look at things in a different way.
yeah.
So one of the examples is that if you build your newsletter with the block editor, you don't want the preview to look how it's on the website, but you want it how
Yeah,
to look in an email. And
that's
so
great.
that's where this example is for. But there are other examples that I right now can't come up with, but because that's my lack of imagination right now. But if I think about it some more, I'll find some. Well, if you have an idea, what else could be in the
I
preview
don't know.
options?
Maybe you could do a preview of dark mode, for example. I
Excellent,
don't know.
excellent. Yeah, or a preview of the screen for your TV because it's a special
Oh
site
yeah,
that it's only for the TV, and but you want to see it
yeah.
because it's a whole
For a
different
tablet.
aspect ratio.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Maybe you want the landscape tablet preview
right.
because your website is gonna be used by. Yeah, could be anything.
Yeah. So I think when we have a little conversation here, we come up with a lot of examples. And
Yeah.
plugin developers, these are your opportunities. I'm going through the other 100 ones, line items, and I stopped by CSS and styling. And these are the two PRs that made it into 6.6.2 as bug fixes. One was the featured image block getting the CSS specificity reduced
Mhm.
and now is behaving nicely again with the sites. And then the other one was the retain same specificity for non-iframe selectors. That was the piece that when if the editor wasn't loaded into the
I see.
iframe, some of the theme JSON things, spacing rules were overwritten by the editor. So you wouldn't have the same look from the editor like you have on the front page. The front page wasn't
Yeah.
affected by that, but it was just the editor thing. And yeah, we
Mm.
are also accustomed that the front page looks like the editor or the editor looks like the front page, that we notice those changes and are kind of, do we have to fix something? No.
Yeah, I must say that the work that's been done with the CSS specificity has been amazing. I think it's a really, really hard change that landed on 6.6 that of course had some consequences that are now being patched. But it's still I see the work being done to not break people's sites and fix them when inevitably sometimes we do.
Mhm.
And it's a very big change that it's very useful and the people really need it, but it's still complicated and complex.
Yeah.
And they've been painstakingly making sure that we're not really breaking people's site, even if
Mhm.
it's just by patching 6.6.2.
Yeah, the unification of CSS specificity was very important to make the style
Mm,
variations work, the
hmm
extended block style variations, and
hmm
to have a standard way of doing things. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
what you said
yeah,
before, yeah, there were so many contributors and now 8 years of development. Some people have different CSS or early blocks had a different CSS behavior
yeah,
than later blocks. And yeah,
yeah.
everybody learned from things and now
Yeah,
going
that's more
back and kind of
consistent
fixing things.
for themers. They know what to expect from core blocks, how
Hmm.
their CSS is gonna behave. They know that it's gonna be consistent. So yeah, in the long run, it's gonna be great. Even though now it's a little bit of a bumpy road. So yeah, keep reporting the bugs so we can fix them.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that's we're pretty much almost through the changelog for 19.2. One thing is that if you are a plugin developer or developer who wants to explore the data views component, the
Mhm.
documentation has been updated quite a bit and added stories for combined fields and layout properties and that all. So you can explore all that for the data views component that is in this release. All right. Anything else that you
No, I
through the
think we
build
covered a
section?
lot.
Yeah, we covered a lot. Yeah, yeah. And
Hmm.
then, but we are now arrived at the section, what's in active development or what's discussed. And I wanted to point out to a design blog post, not that
Mm.
because it was mine, but because it was very important to have it and a data views series on the design blog about what are the features that coming that the design team is working on, and there's just an update number 1, but and there will be many to come on the design team blog. That's a make.wordpress.org/design. More and more posts will come out. And it also is kind of in iteration of the design shares. Then Johan Asmussen does every 2 weeks, kind of putting the whole work of the design team on display and what are they working on with the GitHub or track tickets where the discussion is happening. And speaking of Johan, he just published a very visionary post about advancing the WordPress design system. And that covers that with all the new development, and in the editor there's also coming, what they also build is actually a design system with the components that can be used by plugin developers as well as the site editor or Gutenberg, as well as outside of the WordPress system. So it's the design system out of the atomic blocks, building coming from components and then subcomponents, and building larger components. And then you can build the interfaces from that. And everything is also done in the Figma repository that is open and public for WordPress. And then the storybook that we mentioned before. So these are the 3 pillars of the WordPress design system. And if you haven't noticed that, reading that particular article will help and bring it all together. And contributors will work on it, but this is where the framework of the design system to bring it all together. The next step is actually what we talked about as well, is to focus on the specific updates on the Figma libraries and the storybook site to set clear and actionable goals for the design system, and also go through the current system and look for inconsistencies so they can be fixed, and then also to elevate and connect the 3 pieces to a unified system. There will be bi-weekly updates on the progress in Figma. You can have your comments on the drafts, and of course in GitHub, that's a known place where you can leave your comments and your work if you wanted to. So a good example of a storybook design system is references the design system from the auto manufacturer Audi, how they deal with that for the website development. What's your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I just love this kind of posts. I love all the design work on it. I love the attention to detail. I love the consistency. All of that, I think it's fantastic. And if you go into the Figma file that Joanne links, you see that attention to detail. You see all of those components. That's how we keep everything consistent, right? When you're implementing something new and you're using a component and something like, this is not looking good. Like, I think we were seeing it on the PR that we talked about, where we're adding the extensibility on the preview dropdown. If you're looking at that PR, there's comments saying, oh, it looks like when you're adding a new item, there's like a left padding or left margin that it's misaligned with the rest of the things. And that you start picking those up and seeing, oh, there's this bug here. And again, you go back and keep things consistent. So it becomes easier and easier for new developers to come use a component and just basically use them out of the box, and everything looks exactly right. So yeah, I think that's pretty important.
It also speeds up development because there are certain discussions or decisions that were already made, and you just need to pick them up and move with your idea forward. But you don't have to build any. I mean, you still have to use them and know how to use them, but you don't have to think about interfaces anymore. You just kind of need to go.
Or accessibility.
Or
that's
accessibility.
Already thought on.
Exactly.
There's so much work in these.
That's actually
so
a
much
big
discussion.
It's a big point of this as well. It's kind of that. So we have the three pillars. That's the components, the Figma library, and the storybook. But it's also design, development, and accessibility that brings it all together. There are a few words in that article that I think I don't understand. I need to talk with Johan about it. But when he uses the word pattern, I don't think he thinks WordPress patterns. It's more design patterns. That's a different pattern. And
I think so.
And when it talks about design tokens, I don't know exactly what that means. Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit heavy on the technical terms.
The design lingo. I cannot help you there.
You're a developer, right?
No, it's not just that. I really enjoy working closely with designers. I think it's one of my favorite things. I think there's also a bit of the foreign language. I don't know if it's for you too. I think there's a little bit of that, because when language gets a little bit more I don't know, more technical or more specific, if you're not fully into that, we're used to it as in the developer lingo, right? Because we do know what the difference is between, I don't know. But for designers, it's even harder. And if you're not speaking the language, then it's an extra.
So there's some things in there, like what is a sticker sheet, right? Or But I think we can clear that all up by commenting on the post and kind of figure that out. But it's a very interesting post. I learned a lot from it. And it also seems to have quite a few comments there that are worth reading. So I will share the link to it in the show notes, and also the link to the data views update that just have a visual representation of a new feature that comes to the data view. So it's all in one place. All right, that was it. So Maggie, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, where would that be?
I'm on Slack. Slack. Let me check, because I'm not sure what my username is. I think I'm one Maggie. One Maggie. And on Twitter, it's _Maggie.
All right. Okay. And I'll share those links also in the show notes. So this is it. As always, the show notes will be published on the gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. This is number 107. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or news you want us to include, send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. Thank you so much for listening. And I welcome all the new listeners that I've seen that joined us in the last month. And if you are on Shopify listening to this, please leave a comment or review, or on iTunes review, or on Pocket Cast, or on your favorite podcast app, because it helps with other people discovering this. Especially if it's useful for you, it might be useful for others. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Maggie.
Thank you for having me. Bye.